back with another episode of Lunch and Learn. It's pretty early this time, so maybe it's more like a breakfast and brainstorm, maybe, I don't know. But I'm Brittany,
I'm Alex.
and we are back. Alex, what are you eating over there?
Let's see. I have my breakfast because it is breakfast time over here on the West Coast, and this is going to be a little weird. So this is pretty much my standard breakfast. I don't eat eggs anymore, and the reason for that, I just had some digestion issues. So for my protein, I eat chicken or turkey in the morning. So right now I have some grilled chicken. I know it's odd, but then I followed up with a more traditional part, and this is oatmeal with peanut butter in it. So I have my protein and then I'll eat my oatmeal, and it's my favorite breakfast. And of course, got me a little coffee here because there's no way to start the day without some coffee.
First time, everybody. Alex has no carrots.
No carrots. Can you believe it, guys?
Ah, nice. Um,
What
Very
about you?
good. I'm over here drinking, actually. Not drinking, but drinking my meal. No
I was about
Baileys
to
in here.
say, it's not 5 o'clock where you are, right?
Not yet, not yet. And it's Wednesday, so we're not drinking yet. But I have a scoop of protein powder in here, whey protein, with a banana and some pineapple blended up in my Magic Bullet.
Ooh,
So getting some protein, getting some carbohydrates. I'm going to work out here in a little bit. So yeah, getting some
sounds
carbs.
perfect. Sounds like a
Yeah,
little tropical smoothie. I like it.
it is. It's really good. So yeah, was in a hurry, had more work to do this morning than I thought, didn't quite budget my time well. So, um, not quite enough for a lunch, but enough for a pre-workout snack to get some protein in. Yeah.
I think that's
So,
perfect.
yeah. All right. So, we've got kind of a heavier topic today, I think.
Ooh, yeah.
But yeah, one that comes up a lot when we do new client questionnaires, when we ask, hey, what is the kind of major goal that you want to work on? And we hear a lot people want to work on their relationship with food. And
Mm.
for me, as a coach, um, for me, this is one of the more challenging things. It's like, how do you have a relationship with something that is not giving you anything back, you know? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, and I know this is something for you personally that it's been a struggle for you, like outside of working with clients, but something that you've worked on yourself. So, um, I'll ask you, what do you think? Is it possible to have a healthy relationship with food when you are weighing and tracking what you eat and kind of eating in what a lot of people think is an unnatural way, like, by weighing and tracking? What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna have to say it is possible. And the reason for that is because I have personally seen the benefits of what weighing and tracking my food can do for my relationship with food and just how I fuel my body. So, many years ago, I had many food rules. I wouldn't eat certain foods that I thought was going to make me fat. I wouldn't eat certain combinations of foods. I wouldn't eat out. I wouldn't do really any of those things because I feared all of that, and I had a very negative relationship with food. But and I even still had it when I started WAG. There was still this underlining um, aspect of there was just certain things I wouldn't be willing to do because I just didn't know how it was going to affect my body and things like that. But through my time of weighing and tracking food and getting more comfortable with seeing what foods I could fit into my daily needs, I have become more and more acceptable of eating all kinds of different foods. So if I wanted to have some kind of dessert, I am totally okay with eating that. If I wanted to go out to eat, I'm totally fine with doing that now because I've used tracking for the tool that it is in terms of it's really just a tool. It's allowed me to see, oh, how can I have cake and ice cream for dessert tonight and still reach my goals and still feel great the next day. And it's really just come down to adjusting some serving sizes. Or how could I go out to eat and try these really fun new tacos at this cool new place and still reach my goals. And that, those are some examples of things I just did this past week. And and just being able to sit down, log a few things, kind of see what those foods are adding up to has allowed me to be okay. I can have these foods, and all I have to do is just modify the rest of my meals or my earlier meals to account for something like that, and I still end up within my calorie needs that I personally need for whatever goals I might be needing to reach. And then yeah, it's just that's where I've seen the most benefit from. And even in situations where I don't track, just utilizing the tool for so long of tracking and weighing food has allowed me to then venture into vacations where I'm not tracking or weighing, or um, you know, in just enjoying just different things and not seeing it as, oh, I'm not tracking so I can just eat whatever. It's like, no, I've had that knowledge. I kind of know how to fuel my body, and I can just allow it to be more intuitive into that approach. So, long story short, long answer short, yes, you can.
So it's almost, if I'm hearing you, it's you almost feel like the boundary, and I'm putting that word, the
Hmm.
boundary of macros has given you freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
It's provided more framework.
yeah,
Like I love the term boundary framework. It's allowed me to see kind of, okay, this is like the bumpers that I need to
yeah,
bowl, and then I can bowl however I want to, or fill up my day, or create the structure however I want to, and I can choose if I want to have brownies or pizza or whatever may be within that framework, and still add in some whole foods to create that overall balance. And I think that's really what's helped me in the long run. Weighing and tracking hasn't necessarily felt restrictive in any means. I totally know that I can't have all things at once. There has to be a little give and take, but it's allowed me to see how I can enjoy certain things in a way that allows me to still feel like I'm enjoying, but still reach my goals at the same time. So I'm having my cake and eating it too, type of
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. I've like heard that reference, like when people set boundaries, not necessarily with
Mm-hmm.
food, but with other things. A lot of times we think about setting boundaries with the idea of like keeping people out. And I've heard it referenced like try to reframe your thinking about when you set boundaries. It's not about keeping people out or keeping things out. It's about keeping things in and keeping what's important to you close instead of pushing others out. And I think if you
Mm-hmm.
reframe your thinking that way and even put it into food and nutrition, it works, right? So if
Yeah.
you set your boundaries with food and nutrition with, okay, I am now going to set this boundary. I almost think of it like a fence with, I'm now have this set of macros and I'm going to put whatever I want inside of it. And I'm going to celebrate that and eat whatever I want inside of it and
Mm-hmm.
really enjoy it. And what's outside of the fence, forget about it. I think if you have the right mindset and can celebrate that, it works.
Oh, 100%. And then
Yeah.
another mindset that I always have is that just because I can't have something today doesn't mean I can't have it tomorrow. And so I pick and choose. So, whatever I can fit inside my fence today, I can fit different things in my fence tomorrow. So it allows me to think, well, I'm never really missing out. It's just there's going to be a time and a place where I'm going to enjoy certain things. And just realizing that today is not my last meal. Tomorrow probably won't be my last meal. So then I can, be okay with, okay, well, I'm just going to have pizza tonight instead of pizza and beer. But tomorrow I'm going to have alcohol instead of the pizza, that type of thing. So I just am allowing to create, you know, the structure in that way, or just be able to enjoy things a little at a time. And that's just really helped me feel like I'm not all or nothing. Even if I have bad foods daily, or whatever it may be, I'm still reaching my goals just because I've created that fence and I'm working within the structure of my goals. Yeah. Okay. All right, I got a question for you now so you can do all the talking. So, okay, here's my next question.
All
Or
right.
excuse me, not my next question, our next question. I have kids. Should I let them see me weighing and tracking food? And how can I include them in my diet change without affecting their view on food?
Yeah, I mean, this is tricky. And I think with most things, parenting, it's you have to find what works for you and your family. But I mean, how I've navigated this, and I don't know that I've always done it perfectly, but I have three girls, which like with females, and I'm always more. I think most parents of girls maybe are a little more sensitive with this as well. I am sensitive to it more so even because my girls look like me, and I'm very aware of that, and I try really hard not to be sensitive or not to be harsh about my body because um, you know everyone is always telling them, oh, you look just like your mom, and then if they hear me go, oh, I don't like this about my body, or oh, I'm restricting calories because I want to change my body, what does that do to their brain?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I look like my mom and my mom wants to change her body, I must need to change something about my body. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a very negative thing for a 12, 13, 11-year old to hear. So how I navigate this is, mom is a 41-year-old female. You are a 13-year-old female. What you need to eat to thrive and succeed at basketball or at volleyball or whatever you're doing is very different than what mom needs to eat to thrive and succeed at CrossFit or sitting at a computer for 5 hours a day. We have very different needs, and we talk about that. And if they want to, we get very scientific about it. Like, what do you need and what do I need? And I have really strived hard. And one thing I'm proud of being able to do is we pretty much eat the same thing. I cook one meal for the most part, and we eat the same thing most days. We're going to do another episode about meal prep here soon and kind of talk about how, for the most part, there are some days that are different, I will admit, but for 90% of the time, we eat the same foods. And we eat different portion sizes, and we talk about why that is. you know I'm a 150-pound female, she's a 90-pound female, we eat different amounts,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not good at eyeballing it, so I put it on the scale. That's why. And we talk about that, and we're very open about it. And I think a lot of times questions come out of curiosity, and we talk about it, and we have open conversations about nutrition, and just being open and talking about it. And I don't hide it, I'm not shameful about it. And um, I was a overweight kid, and I talk about that, and I talk about how that affected my health, and just not shameful about it at all, and very open about, and just have conversations. I think that's what's most important, is just have conversations about health and wellness, and absolutely zero shame. I think that's one of also the really important things, is just no matter what your body type is and what your goals are, have health as the center point always, and have no shame about anything that you're doing, from health and wellness. And just make sure that health is the center point, especially with kids. No restriction, and make sure that health is always a center point for sure.
Yeah. Oh, I like
Yeah.
that. I like how that you've created it more as a educational piece. So that way they're learning. Because I think a lot of times all the like the myths and the misconceptions is just from the lack of knowledge. And you've really tried to educate along the way of why this is, like why you're doing what you're doing in a very positive way. It's not just because you're saying, well, I'm fat and this is because I want to do it, or
Yeah.
cookies are bad for me, so this is kind of why I eat. It's no, you're just simply um, something that I've always thought if I was to have kids, I would kind of explain it in a way of this is why I am fueling my body for certain goals. Like
Yeah.
I would want to view food as fuel as opposed to like I must work out to eat, or vice versa. So I love how you're relating it to basketball, you're relating it to like your specific goals and things like that. So I think that's beautiful, and just communicate and have that conversation is, I think that's the theme of life. Better
Yeah.
communication allows for more just understanding and less confusion.
Totally. Um,
Mhm.
we just, I think we have just a few more minutes, but I want to make sure we touch on this topic before we go,
Okay.
because it's something that comes up a lot. Um, I think if someone has a history of an eating disorder, whether that's diagnosed or the clinically diagnosed or not clinically diagnosed, what are your thoughts on someone starting macro tracking, or working with a coach, a certified nutrition coach, or a registered dietitian? How do you approach that? What are your thoughts there?
That's good. That's a great question. So, like, would macro tracking be safe for you? It depends, and I know we've said that a lot, that answer, it depends, but I think it depends on where you're at in your journey. And could you work with a dietitian and coach? Absolutely. So, I've had it. I think I kind of mentioned this just a few minutes ago. Is that I had disordered eating, and as in high school, I was anorexic, and I battled that for a few years. I was never really clinically diagnosed, but my parents threatened me multiple times to take me to a hospital or a clinic if I wasn't to eat. And so, yeah, I just restricted my food considerably, and coming into WAG, like I said, I still had some of those bad habits and those food rules. And at first, tracking macros did feel a little triggering, but I was able to communicate with my coach and voice some things and say like, "Hey, something just doesn't feel right. Could we change some things up?" And so that's where it goes. I want to circle back to my question of it depends. Macro tracking might not be right for you immediately, like where you are in your journey, but it can become a tool that you can utilize as you go throughout your journey, as you feel a little bit more comfortable. So, is macro tracking safe? Absolutely. I used to control my calories significantly, and now I continue to use macro tracking on a daily basis, and I have for the past 8 years. And as you can see, I still include foods like, um, desserts, eating out, things like that. And I do have a healthy relationship with food. I'm sitting in a healthy body weight. I don't have a lot of food rules, even though you might think that way with me eating the same things over and over again. It's just come out of convenience and laziness. Um, but no, if you do, I do think it is safe for you, but it depends on where you're at in your journey. And as long as you're willing to communicate with your coach and work with them and be open and willing to try some different things. And if things don't feel right, then you can kind of reassess and try a different tool until the time is right. And so that's how I would approach it with any client is, we would go like on a weekly basis and see, okay, we would check in, say how you feeling, how you're doing, does this feel good, is anything coming up? If not, then we would reassess and change some things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Comes right back to communication.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you can attest probably more than anyone. Sometimes those are really hard conversations to have, like
Hmm.
really hard conversations to have. But we're not, as the coach or a dietitian, we're not there with you. We need to hear those things. We need to hear how you're feeling. And, if anyone's listening or watching this, have those conversations, with the person you're working with. Like, we need to know. We can't help you and assist you through some of these really challenging times if we don't know what you're feeling. If this is
Yeah.
triggering you or, causing you to feel some unease, we don't know, so let us know. And that way we can, help you walk through this. This is what we're here for. Absolutely.
I agree. And that's not just saying for those that have an eating disorder or disordered eatings. Like at any point, if you're just a normal person, not saying that if you have an eating disorder you're not normal, but if you're going throughout a journey and things don't feel right, communicate that with your coach, so that
Yes.
way you can work as a team to get to where you want to go. I work with clients on a daily basis, and some of them are not tracking macros and they don't have an eating disorder. It's just because macro tracking is not fitting their current
Yeah.
lifestyle, and that's cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
get back to communication and just being open and open minded and open communication. 100%.
Totally. All right. Well, we talked a little longer, I think, than what we planned on. But again, this is an important topic. I think it's one that we could
Mm-hmm.
talk about forever. Um, and maybe we'll touch on it again here in the future. So
Yeah.
if you all, yeah, if you guys have more questions or comments or would like us to revisit this, let us know. But yeah, we'll be back next week. I think we're going to talk about meal planning. So um, come back next week.
All
Talk to you
right.
guys
See you
again
then,
soon.
guys. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Hey, everyone. If you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our channel to get more content on nutrition, health, and wellness. Thank you for watching.